Boom, baby. The Oklahoma Sooners get another commit here in the 26th recruiting cycle. This time, it's a big-time commit. Put the emphasis on big because the Oklahoma Sooners just got them an interior defensive lineman. And we got to talk about what this means for the Oklahoma Sooners and where they're currently at, because they are now the number 22nd class in the entire country. Although that might not impress some, the Oklahoma Sooners might be putting together a sneaky good class here in the 26th cycle. So we're going to discuss that. Before we do, as always, I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Jump down in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you're new to the channel, hit that like and hit the subscribe button so that you can constantly be brought up to speed with what's going on with OU football recruiting. There is a ton of flip targets incoming for the Oklahoma Sooners. These visit lists for the recruiting weekends that Oklahoma is going to have during Michigan. You've got one coming up this week against Illinois State. I believe Auburn will have some recruits as well. Listen, we're going to put out those lists for you. It's completely free. All you have to do is subscribe. But let's talk about the recent commit that Oklahoma got here today, and that is going to be Ron Richardson, the three-star interior defensive lineman. Now you might be saying, hey, he's a three-star. How is this a big-time pickup for the Oklahoma Sooners? He's 6'2.5", 295 pounds, y'all. Like, coming into Oklahoma to be able to play interior defensive lineman, this is the size that you want. Now, he is the 433rd ranked player according to the 247 composite rankings. But let me tell you why you should be excited about Ron Richardson. Because I tell you all the time, when you're looking at an evaluation of a player and why it could be big for your school, even if they're a 3-star or a 4-star or even a 5-star, you have to look at the offer sheet, the schools that are interested in the player. Well, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, those are some schools that were in his top schools list. But you see one in there? Penn State, Auburn was an offer, Florida, Georgia. Those are schools that traditionally do a pretty good job with interior defensive linemen. And so whenever I look at a guy like Ron Richardson and I look at that offer sheet, that's a pretty elite offer sheet there. Now, watching Ron's film, this is where Oklahoma fans can potentially get excited. Ron Richardson sticks out. And you kind of see it a little bit in his stats from last year, but kind of a flex 3 technique guy at the nose tackle position. And one of the things that you immediately see in his film, one of the things that immediately pops out is that agility for a guy of his size, right? He's got that quickness. And with a 6'11" wingspan, which is above average, you understand why a Jim Nagy, why a Todd Bates, and a Brent Venables would want this guy on their defense. He's a multi-sport athlete, track and field. He placed third at Virginia's Class 3A state meet and shot put as an 11th grader. In football last year, two-way player that entered second-team all-region honors, finished junior season with 52 tackles, 19 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup. In his sophomore year, he had 24 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. So this is a guy that has even been able to produce pretty well. And coming into Oklahoma, I think this is a guy that could compete and definitely get really good rotational minutes on that defensive line. One of the write-ups from Hudson Standish over at 247 says, plays left tackle and defensive end at the prep level, but projects long-term as an interior defensive lineman with an alignment flex at 3 technique and nose tackle. Plays with infectious energy and is constantly around the ball, seeks contact as an offensive lineman, and will punish second-level defenders when climbing. So the Oklahoma Sooners getting themselves a great pickup here. Great pickup on the recruiting trail. No matter what, I think it's a big-time commit, big-time body. This gives Oklahoma their 18th commit here in the 26th cycle. So the question is, right, this was probably your last remaining uncommitted prospect, unless Oklahoma decides to go after that wide receiver up at Rejoice Christian. I'm not going to try to say his last name. His first name's Xavier. If Oklahoma decides to go after him, then maybe you could add another uncommitted prospect. But at this point, Oklahoma is completely dialed in at flip season. And there are some targets on the board that Oklahoma wants to be able to try to go out there and flip. I think one of the ones that we've talked about the most was the 3-star wide receiver, Braden Allen, who's currently committed to Tulane, has a visit set up to come to Norman. And I mean, guys, you watch the speed, you see his frame at 6'1", 170. That guy's going to play. And for everybody that wants to complain about 3-star wide receivers, Ohio State takes 3-star wide receivers. Okay? I get it. It's Brian Hartline. You always trust Brian Hartline's 3-star evaluations. But even the best schools take 3-star wide receivers. So it will be okay. Additionally, I do think there's some other wide receiver targets that Oklahoma's going after. We're not going to disclose those names yet because it seems like every time we disclose a name, someone gets upset about it. So we're going to wait a little bit longer, but trust me, there's another target there. KJ Ford out at University of Florida. You guys remember him? The edge rusher out of Duncanville. That's a prospect Oklahoma could be potentially looking at. You've also got Caden Hall, the safety, the 4-star safety, out there at Florida, along with Davian Gross. So Oklahoma Sooner fans better be rooting for the Florida Gators to not have a good year at all. You've got Jacob Curry at linebacker, the current Northwestern linebacker commit. That could be a target. Well, actually, no, that is a target that Oklahoma is looking at pursuing. I also want to circle back around to running back. Don't forget about Jonathan Hatton. It's been a long time since we've talked about him. He was originally committed in this class, flipped his commitment to Texas A&M. If he puts up a good senior tape, I would imagine Jim Nagy and the staff would probably want to kick around the tires on Jonathan Hatton once again. But again, it's going to require Jonathan Hatton to put some really good film on his senior tape for Jim Nagy to be able to go out there and evaluate. I do still expect Oklahoma to kick the tires on a couple more wide receivers. If Baylor has a bad year, Jordan Clay, I think, is definitely on that list. They circle back around to him. Not 100% sure if they circle back around to a Jaden Pettit or a Dallas Dickerson who committed to Kentucky. But Oklahoma, I feel like they're starting to gain some momentum on the recruiting trail, especially in 27. Starting to hear a lot of buzz with kids in 27, which means if you go out there and you do what you're supposed to and you win in the Michigan game, I think the Oklahoma Sooners have a chance to really go on a spurt and probably like what you saw in 25, they can do again in 27. They could probably have the majority of their class locked up before official visit season actually starts. So I want to hear from y'all. Jump in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about this big-time commit for the Oklahoma Sooners and the 3-star defensive lineman, T-Ron Richardson. If you're new to the channel, this is where I ask you, hit that like, hit that subscribe button so you're not missing out on any Oklahoma football content. And we'll see y'all next time because it's game week.